Welcome to Resume Writing with Arkansas Tech University Career Services. Today we'll be discussing your education section within your resume. This is a brief overview of one portion of a much larger document. To start out, when you are creating a resume, typically the first encounter an employer has with that document will be 30 seconds or less. So keep in mind that we want things to be very simple, easy to read, and straightforward. And you will notice how we do this as we walk through the education section. Here is a sample resume specifically for a student in an agricultural field. You'll notice the education section is toward the top of the page. This is because while you are still in school or when you are a fresh graduate from your university, your degree may be the most relevant or important thing you have to offer a future employer. The longer that you are working and the more full-time experience you have, the more the order of information on your resume will change. In this case, your education section may find itself below your professional experience after you have more professional experience. So let's dive a little deeper. Looking at the education section, there are some must-haves. And we will show you several different options for how your education section may look, but you'll notice that these elements will be in all of those different options. The first is going to be your degree title, which you need to spell all the way out. In this case, it's a Bachelor of Science in Agriculture Business. Most degrees from Arkansas Tech will be a Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts degree. We have a few other variations, so if you are unsure, make sure that you check the catalog or speak to a professor in your department to find out the official title of your degree. Second, we want to list your school name and the location. For Tech, the official school name is Arkansas Tech University, and your location will either be Russellville, Arkansas, or Ozark, Arkansas, even if you took some classes online from other places. Finally, we need to have a graduation date. If you have graduated within the last 10 years, we need to know when you completed your degree. And you'll notice that you can put the word anticipated or expected in front of your graduation date if it hasn't occurred yet. Once you graduate, that anticipated or expected word will disappear from your graduation date. And once you've been out of school for 10 years, you do not need to tell us how long it's been since you completed your degree. Next, let's talk about some of those other details you might want to include in your education section. Technically speaking, anything that happened while you were in school as a part of your time as a student can be listed in the education section. But you may choose to create some optional sections as well if there's a lot of explaining involved. If we're listing it underneath a degree, we're talking about simple items that do not need much explanation. So here are some optional things to consider. First, your grades or academic accomplishments. If you are going into a STEM field, maybe you are studying engineering or computer science of some kind or math, most employers are going to expect to see your GPA on your resume. In fact, some may require it. However, if you are not going into one of those fields and you have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, we would highly recommend that you include it anyway, because if you did well in the classes and you want to work in an area where you'd be using that subject matter, then that's a benefit for you. Second, we can talk about other accomplishments. These could be things like being on the dean's list or being in an honors society. Perhaps you won some awards. Those are all things that you can list as bulleted points underneath your education as well to show them where you were in school when you won those awards or accomplished those items. Then we have campus involvements. Some students are involved in a lot of organizations on campus, even holding leadership positions, or they're volunteering around campus. You can add that elsewhere on your resume if you want to give us a full description of all you were doing when you held that position or were a member of that organization. But if, like this student, you just want us to know that you're a member, maybe you were not that active or you don't have things you want to share about that membership, you can just list the membership and the dates when you were involved in that organization underneath your education. Next, relevant coursework. This is very popular for students or fresh graduates that are looking to go into a field where they need to directly apply the information they learned in classes. We are not going to list your entire transcript on your resume, but you can add a bullet that says relevant coursework and list the titles of a few courses that indicate to an employer you have some exposure to the skills they have listed as required in a job description. Here, I've given you a couple of samples of different education sections so that you can see that you have some options. This particular student chose to add bullets with a lot of different pieces of information from that optional stuff list. And you'll notice they are all in bullets so that they fall underneath the umbrella of the degree they were working on when they accomplished those different tasks. Our second option is a very short or abbreviated version of your education section where you just give us the must-haves, your degree title, the school and location, and your graduation date. For students that are trying to save space or folks that have been out of school for a little while, this minimal approach is perfectly acceptable. And here's an example for students that may have earned more than one degree while attending the same school. You can list the school first instead of the degree so that you're saving space and listing both degrees under the same institution. You'll notice we have two different graduation dates because you often will not finish both degrees at the exact same time. Take notice, this is specifically for an Associate of Science in Criminal Justice. If you are graduating from Arkansas Tech with an Associate of Arts in General Studies, this is worth mentioning on your resume while you're still in school. But once you complete that bachelor's degree, the Associate of Arts in General Studies is the way that we indicate you finished your general education coursework for your bachelor's degree, so you do not continue to need to list it on your resume. We only need associate's degrees in specific subjects once you graduate with your bachelor's degree from your program. And there are always a couple of other instances to keep in mind as well. So for our future teachers or our educators, things get a little bit more complicated. You're going to list the title of your degree from Tech, but you're also going to consider whether you want to include your high school. For students that want to go back and work at their alma mater someday, they might include their high school when they're applying to that school district. For students that are looking to coach specific sports or teach subjects they were highly involved in when they were in high school, they also might consider listing their high school so that they have room to add bullets underneath and tell us that they played that sport or they were involved in that organization. So here are a few examples. If you want to coach basketball, you might list your high school diploma and then have a bullet underneath to tell us that you were all state for that sport. If you want to teach agriculture, you might tell us that you were highly involved in FFA or 4-H while you were in high school, and that would mean it's appropriate to list high school. Also, for teachers, we are always going to include your licensure and any other certifications you have that are going to help you as a future teacher. So if you are not completely licensed yet, tell us that you've passed the Praxis 2, or tell us when you're scheduled or expect to complete your teacher licensure. We also want to know which subjects and grades you will be licensed to teach, as well as auxiliary licenses like your CPR or first aid. If you have a bus driver's license or you have endorsements in additional subjects or grade levels, those are all worth mentioning underneath your education section, because again, this is at the top of the page where it's going to grab more attention from the employers coming straight out of college. For transfer students, we also need to consider a couple of other things. Obviously, you're going to list your most recent degree first, and that's going to be your bachelor's degree from Tech that you plan on completing or that you have already completed. But if you transferred from a previous institution, that degree will be listed lower because it's further into the past. Keep in mind that we will need the name of that institution, the graduation date, and the location of that school listed next to that degree. And we only list degrees or certifications that we completed. So if you took a bunch of credits from another institution, but you didn't finish that program, do not worry about adding that to your education. It's going to show up as a portion of your transcript for your bachelor's degree at Tech anyway. But if you completed a program, a degree, or a certification at a previous institution, you can list that underneath your education as well. And I'll refer to the previous slide and say if that degree you completed was an associate's of some kind in general studies or liberal arts that doesn't focus on a specific subject, it's going to be optional whether you choose to include that once you earn your bachelor's degree. All right, so here's a quick reminder of how to get into the Arkansas Tech University Career Services Handshake system in case you want to look at more examples of experience sections in resumes. So you're going to log into your Handshake account. There is a link to it on the Tech Career Services page, as well as a link to it in your OneTech account. And once you're logged in with your OneTech username and password, this is your home screen. You'll notice up here in the upper right corner that we have a button that says Career Center. That Career Center button, when you click on it, is going to take you to another menu that will help you find online resources. So click on that Career Center button the next time you're in Handshake, and it will lead you to this page. On this page, we have a button for appointments so that you can meet with someone in Career Services to go over your resume once you've created one. Or we have a resources button. For students that are not interested in having a meeting or a review quite yet, click on resources and you can download specific samples of resumes that will help you in your plans. So when you click resources, there will be a giant list of resources and you can scroll through them, or you can search for the word resume in the search box. When you search for the word resume in the search box, here's that search box with the word resume right there up at the top. It will immediately kick out a list of just the resources that have the word resume in them. In particular, this resume guide is going to be your best bet to start you off. It's a general resume sample that works for all majors, and you can take a look at the experience section or any other section you're trying to work out on your own document, and it'll have some quick tips. But feel free to look at the resume samples that are specific to other subjects or majors as well, because they may be something that helps you in particular. Finally, do not forget that Arkansas Tech Career Services is here for you. So you can log into Handshake and, as we showed you before, set up an appointment if you would like to discuss any of the topics on this slide. You can email our office at career.services@atu.edu, and we also have several social media handles. Our handle on Twitter and Instagram is @ATU and we also have an Arkansas Tech University Career Services page on Facebook and on LinkedIn that you are welcome to join whenever you